Elisabetta Cocciaretto ha appena vinto il suo quarto di finale contro la svizzera Simona Waltert, partita complicata ma forse più per...
Praticamente sono in sessione.
Ma sei in pari?
Mi mancano 9 esami e poi mi laureo. Allora, durante la preparazione ho dato 2 esami, cioè la prima parte di diritto amministrativo.
Honestly, if anything, it kind of helps being home, so I can just drive and be home and be in my own bed.
Coco Gauff, humiliated. Tennis world explodes after shocking Doha disaster. What is happening to Coco Gauff right now is absolutely disgraceful, and I'm not holding back today. We need to have a serious conversation about what went down in Doha, the vicious backlash that followed, and why the tennis world should be ashamed of itself right now. Imagine this scenario for just a moment. You're 21 years old. You've already won 2 Grand Slam titles. You're ranked in the top 5 in the world. You've been carrying the weight of American tennis on your shoulders since you were a teenager. And then you have one bad day, one shocking loss, and the entire internet decides to absolutely destroy you. Not just criticize your performance, but personally attack you, question your character, and treat you like you're suddenly the worst player on the planet. That's exactly what just happened to Coco Gauff, and honestly, it makes me sick to my stomach. Welcome back to Chatterbox, where we don't just report the news, we tell you what's really going on. Today we're diving deep into the Doha disaster that has everyone talking, the brutal loss that nobody saw coming, and the absolutely toxic response from so-called tennis fans that proves once again that social media can be the ugliest place on earth. If you care about Coco Gauff, if you care about tennis, or if you just believe in treating people with basic human decency, you need to stick around for this entire video, because what I'm about to tell you is going to make your blood boil. Let me paint the picture for you, because to understand the magnitude of this meltdown, you have to understand just how shocking this loss actually was. We're in Doha, Qatar. The Qatar Total Energies Open is in full swing. This is a massive tournament, a WTA 1000 event, which means all the biggest names in women's tennis are there competing for serious ranking points and serious prize money. You've got Iga Swiatek, the dominant force in women's tennis. You've got Elena Rybakina, the Wimbledon champion with that absolutely lethal serve. And of course, you've got Coco Gauff, seeded 4th, coming in as one of the tournament favorites. Now, Coco's season hadn't exactly started the way she wanted. She had that tough quarterfinal exit at the Australian Open against Elena Svitolina, a match where she battled extreme heat, visible frustration, and yeah, she smashed a racket. The cameras caught it all. The internet had a field day with that moment, turning a split second of competitive frustration into a character assassination. But that's a whole other story we'll get to later. She came to Doha looking for redemption. She wanted to prove that the Australian Open was just a blip, that she was still the champion everyone knew she could be. She got a first-round bye because of her high seeding, which meant she was fresh, rested, and ready to make a statement when she finally stepped on court. Her first match was supposed to be a routine Tuesday afternoon warm-up against Elisabetta Cocciaretto from Italy. Now, no disrespect to Cocciaretto because she's a solid player, but let's be real about the matchup here. Cocciaretto is ranked 57th in the world. She actually lost in the qualifying rounds. She only got into the main draw as a lucky loser because somebody else withdrew at the last minute. A lucky loser versus a 2-time Grand Slam champion. On paper, this shouldn't even be close. You expect Coco to walk out there, serve big, hit her powerful forehand, and cruise through in straight sets, maybe dropping 4 or 5 games total. You expect her to shake hands, do a quick post-match interview, and move on to the next round without breaking a sweat. But tennis doesn't care about what's supposed to happen. Tennis is brutal like that. From the very first game, something was wrong. You could see it in Coco's body language. Her shoulders were tight. Her movement looked hesitant. And that serve, her biggest weapon when it's working and her biggest liability when it's not, was misfiring badly. The first serve percentage was low. The second serves were sitting up, begging to be attacked. And Cocciaretto, to her credit, was absolutely fearless. The Italian came out swinging for the fences. She was taking the ball early, hitting flat and hard, going for winners, and playing with absolutely nothing to lose. When you're a lucky loser going up against a top 5 player, the pressure is completely off. You're not expected to win. Nobody's watching your ranking points. You can just go out there and play free, aggressive tennis, which is exactly what Cacciaretto did. This isn't even the first time this has happened to her in Doha. Last year, she also had an early exit at this tournament. It's becoming a bit of a cursed hunting ground for her, a place where her game just doesn't click for whatever reason. And to make matters even worse, she had already lost her doubles match the day before with her partner Victoria Mboko. So think about this for a second. She flies all the way to Qatar, thousands of miles from home, and within 48 hours, she's out of both the singles and doubles draws. She's done. She's booking a flight home with nothing to show for the trip except a bruised ego and a whole lot of questions about what's going wrong. In the post-match press conference, Coco was brutally honest in a way that actually made me respect her even more. She didn't make excuses. She didn't blame the conditions, or the court, or bad luck, or anything else. She looked straight at the cameras and said, "I just feel like I haven't showed up with my best level the last few matches. I've been having good practices, but just not playing well in the matches." You could see the frustration in her eyes. You could hear the confusion in her voice. Here's a 21-year-old woman trying to figure out an incredibly complicated puzzle in real time while millions of people watch and judge every word. She looked dejected. She looked lost. She looked like someone who genuinely couldn't understand why the tennis that comes so easily in practice completely abandons her when the lights come on and the points count. It was a vulnerable moment. It was human. It was honest. And the internet absolutely destroyed her for it. The moment that final ball sailed long and the match was over, the floodgates of hatred opened up like a dam breaking. I'm talking about a tidal wave of toxic, vicious, personal attacks that went way beyond normal sports criticism. I went through the comments on social media so you don't have to, and let me tell you, it was one of the ugliest things I've seen in a long time. Usually when a top player loses, you get the standard reactions. Tough loss. She didn't play well today. On to the next one. Maybe some disappointment from fans who had money on the match. But it stays relatively civil. It stays focused on the tennis. But with Coco, it's different. It's always different with her. And it's driven by this weird, obsessive hatred that certain people seem to have for her that goes way beyond sports. People are calling her a fraud. They're saying she's finished at 21 years old. One-trick pony. Overrated. She only won her slams because the draw was easy. She got lucky. The comments are absolutely brutal, and they're everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, every platform is flooded with people who seem to take genuine pleasure in tearing her down. Are you kidding me right now? This is a two-time Grand Slam champion we're talking about. This is someone who has accomplished more by age 21 than 99% of professional tennis players accomplish in their entire careers. But one bad loss to a lower-ranked opponent, and suddenly she's washed up? Suddenly her entire career is fake. The logic doesn't even make sense. There's this narrative trying to take hold that Coco Gauff is somehow done, that she peaked too early, that she's on the downside of her career before she's even hit her prime. People are spamming her Instagram with clown emojis. They're tagging her in posts mocking her forehand technique. They're creating memes about her losses. They're questioning whether she actually deserves her ranking. And let's talk about the specific nature of this hate because it's important. A lot of the attacks bring up the Australian Open incident from a few weeks ago. Remember when she smashed her racket after losing to Svitolina? She was frustrated after a tough loss in brutal heat. She's a fierce competitor who hates losing. She had a moment of anger and broke her racket, something that happens in tennis literally all the time. But the haters have latched onto that moment and are using it to paint her as some kind of spoiled brat who can't handle adversity. One comment I saw said, maybe if she spent less time crying about privacy and smashing rackets, she would actually win a match. Another one said, Coco is too busy being a celebrity to be a tennis player. Sad to see such wasted talent. This is the problem. This is the double standard that drives me absolutely crazy. When Coco wins, when she's lifting trophies and making history, she's America's sweetheart. She's the future of tennis. She's inspiring. She's amazing. Everyone loves her. But the second she loses, the second she shows any human emotion or has a bad day, she's a diva. She's distracted. She's ungrateful. She's a celebrity who doesn't care about tennis anymore. She's a disappointment. The narrative flips so fast it'll give you whiplash. Why does it have to be? Coco Gauff is a disgrace to American tennis. Why does every loss have to become a referendum on her entire career and character? Because negativity sells. Because tearing down a star makes mediocre people feel better about their own boring lives. Because the internet has created this culture where destroying someone is entertainment, where cruelty is content, where the fastest way to get engagement is to say the most hateful thing possible. These so-called fans, and I use that term very loosely because real fans don't behave this way, seem to have collective amnesia. They forget who they're talking about. They forget what she's already accomplished. So let me remind everyone, because apparently it needs to be said. Who is Coco Gauff? Let's talk about actual facts instead of toxic hot takes. She is 21 years old. Most 21-year-olds are still figuring out what they want to do with their lives. They're finishing college or starting entry-level jobs or trying to pay off student loans. They're worried about making rent and passing exams and figuring out how to be an adult. Coco Gauff has already done more in her short life than most tennis players achieve in 20-year careers. She's a two-time Grand Slam champion. She won the U.S. Open in 2023 at 19 years old, becoming the youngest American to win that title since Serena Williams. She won the French Open in 2025, just last year, beating Aryna Sabalenka, the world #1, in the final. Do you understand how incredibly difficult that is? Do you know how hard it is to win even one Grand Slam? There are hundreds of professional tennis players on tour at any given time. Thousands if you count everyone who ever holds a professional ranking. The vast majority of them will never win a major. They'll have long, successful careers, make good money, travel the world, and never lift one of those big trophies. Coco has two, before she turned 22. And she did it while dealing with more pressure and scrutiny than almost any young player in recent memory. She's been ranked in the top 5 in the world consistently for years now. She's been to the finals and semifinals of multiple major tournaments. She's won millions of dollars in prize money. She carries herself with grace and maturity that honestly seems impossible for someone her age. She speaks out on social issues. She's a role model to millions of young kids, especially young girls of color who see themselves in her and dream of following in her footsteps. And yes, right now, she is going through a slump, a rough patch, a period where the results aren't coming and the tennis isn't clicking. Newsflash for everyone losing their minds. Athletes go through slumps. It happens to literally everyone who plays sports at a high level for a long enough time. Roger Federer had slumps. Serena Williams had slumps. Novak Djokovic had slumps where people questioned whether he was done, whether he'd ever win another major, and then he'd come back and win 3 in a row. Rafael Nadal dealt with injuries and form drops, and people writing him off, and then he'd win the French Open for the 15th time. It's part of sports. It's part of the journey. You cannot be perfect every single week of the year. The tennis calendar is absolutely grueling. It's 11 months of nonstop competition, constant travel, jet lag, different time zones, different courts, different balls, different conditions, living out of hotel rooms and suitcases, dealing with injuries and pressure and expectations. Even the greatest players in history have stretches where it just doesn't work, where the timing is off, where the confidence dips, where other players figure you out, or you get in your own head, or you're just physically and mentally exhausted. Coco mentioned in her press conference that she's struggling to translate her practice form to match play. That's a classic sign of a mental block or burnout. It's not a lack of talent. It's not a lack of work ethic. She's not suddenly a bad player who forgot how to hit a tennis. People seem to think she's not allowed to be human. They think she's a robot that exists solely to entertain them and win them money on their sports bets. They think she owes them perfection in every single match. She doesn't owe anyone that. She's a human being with the same struggles and doubts and bad days that every single person watching has. The only difference is that her bad days happen in front of thousands of people in the stadium and millions watching around the world. I want to address the Chatterbox community directly here because this is important. We love drama. We love discussing the rankings and the controversies and the storylines. Lost a match crosses that line every single time. Coco Gauff represents the best of American tennis right now. She is the future of the sport, or actually, she's the present. She's one of the biggest draws in women's tennis. She's the one selling tickets. She's the one getting young kids, especially young girls, interested in picking up a racket and trying tennis. If we drive her away with this kind of toxicity, if we contribute to burning her out mentally and emotionally, tennis loses. American tennis loses. We all lose as fans because we're destroying something special for temporary internet points and the fleeting satisfaction of being cruel. Remember when she smashed that racket in Melbourne? People acted like she had committed some unforgivable sin. I saw it completely differently. I saw passion. I saw someone who cares so deeply about winning that a loss physically hurts. I'd rather watch a player who cares that much than a player who loses and doesn't seem bothered at all. And now in Doha, she loses, handles it with grace in the press conference, takes full responsibility without making excuses, and she still gets absolutely destroyed by the internet? She literally cannot win with these people. If she gets emotional, she's a brat who can't control herself. If she stays calm, she doesn't care enough. If she wins, she got lucky or had an easy draw. If she loses, she's overrated and washed up. It's exhausting. It's unfair. And it needs to stop. To the people sending those hateful messages, seriously, go outside. Touch some grass. Get a hobby. Pick up a tennis racket yourself and try to return a 100-mile-per-hour serve. You couldn't do it. You couldn't handle 1% of the pressure she deals with every single day. Coco is 21 years old. She potentially has 10 or 15 more years at the top of this sport. She's going to win more Grand Slams. I genuinely believe she's going to be world number one again. This loss in Doha? In 10 years, it will be a footnote on her Wikipedia page that nobody remembers. But she's going to remember how people treated her during the tough times. Athletes always remember who supported them when things weren't going well. So let's flip the script. Let's drown out the hate with support. Let's be the kind of fans that actually deserve to watch greatness. Coco, if by some absolute miracle you're watching Chatterbox right now, and let's be honest, you're probably way too busy being an incredibly successful professional athlete to watch random YouTube videos about yourself, but if you somehow see this, ignore the noise. Keep working. Keep grinding. Keep believing in yourself. We know who you are. The real fans know you're a champion. Doha was a bad day. Dubai is next on the schedule. Indian Wells is coming up. Miami is your home tournament. The season is long, and you've got plenty of time to turn things around. This isn't the end of anything. This is just a chapter in what's going to be an incredible career. And to the real tennis fans out there, the ones who actually understand this sport and appreciate greatness, stick by her. This is when a player needs support the most. Not when they're lifting the trophy and everything's perfect, but when they're walking off the court after a devastating loss, when they're questioning themselves, when they're vulnerable. That's when champions are made. In how they respond to adversity, and whether they have the mental strength to work through the struggles and come back stronger. I believe Coco has that strength. I believe we're going to look back on this moment as just another obstacle she overcame on her way to an incredible career. But she shouldn't have to overcome hateful fans on top of everything else. So here's my challenge to everyone watching. Be better. Be the kind of fan that lifts players up instead of tearing them down. Celebrate great tennis instead of celebrating failures. Remember that these are real people with real feelings, not characters in a TV show that exists for your entertainment. The Doha disaster is going to fade. The loss will be forgotten. But the culture we create around tennis and how we treat these athletes, that's going to last. Let's make sure we're creating something worth being proud of. All right, I want to hear from you because I know you've got opinions and I want to know what you're thinking. What's your take on the reaction to Coco's loss in Doha? Do you think the criticism is fair, or do you think people have completely crossed the line? Coco Gauff does not deserve this treatment. Not even a little bit. She deserves patience. She deserves the space to work through her struggles without being personally attacked. She deserves fans who remember what she's accomplished and believe in her ability to figure it out. She's working on her game. She's trying to fix the technical issues with her serve and forehand. That takes time. You don't overhaul major parts of your game overnight, especially when you're also trying to compete at the highest level week after week. Let's talk about what's actually happening with her tennis right now, because there are legitimate technical and mental challenges she's facing, and understanding them might help people realize this isn't some catastrophic career collapse. It really comes down to two main things, the forehand and the serve. These have always been the question marks in Coco's game, the areas where opponents try to attack her. In the match against Cacciaretto, the serve completely deserted her. When Coco is serving well, when she's getting 70% of her first serves in and hitting her spots, she's incredibly difficult to break. She can hit serves at 120 miles per hour. She has great variety. She can dominate with her serve. But when the rhythm is off, When the toss gets inconsistent or the motion gets tight, the double faults start creeping in. And once you start double faulting, you get tight. You start guiding the ball instead of going after it. The second serve becomes a target for aggressive returners. It's a vicious cycle that's hard to break in the middle of a match. Then there's the forehand. Coco's forehand grip is quite extreme, which allows her to generate massive topspin. That's great for consistency and hitting angles, but it can be vulnerable when opponents hit flat and hard, taking time away from her. When the ball is coming at you fast and low, that extreme grip makes it harder to handle pace. That's exactly how Cacciaretto played. She was taking the ball early, hitting flat, rushing Coco, giving her no time to set up and wind up that big forehand swing. Every time Coco tried to get into the point, Cacciaretto was already on top of her, applying pressure, not letting her get comfortable. It's a tactical issue. The tour has figured out how to play Coco right now. They know to attack the forehand. They know to test the second serve. They know to keep the points fast and not let her use her incredible court coverage and defense. But here's the thing, Coco knows this too. She has a team. She has coaches. They're working on adjustments. Winning the French Open last year proved she can dominate on clay, where she has more time to set up. Winning the US Open proved she can win on hard courts with pure grit and fighting spirit. She has all the tools. The talent is there. The work ethic is there. The competitive fire is definitely there. What we're seeing now is what I call the championship hangover, that difficult period after you've achieved your biggest goals where you have to find new motivation and navigate being a marked woman on tour. Staying at the top is harder than getting there. Everyone's studying your game. Everyone's trying their absolute best against you. The pressure is relentless. The loss in Doha is concerning, yes. Losing to the world number 57 as a top 5 player is not ideal. It's not the result she wanted or expected. But is it a career-ending crisis? Absolutely not. Is it a reason to send her death threats and hateful messages? Not even close. Let's look at the bigger context of women's tennis right now. Iga Swiatek is an absolute machine, one of the most dominant players we've seen in years. Aryna Sabalenka is a powerhouse with that massive serve and aggressive game. Elena Rybakina is deadly with her weapons. The level at the top of women's tennis is incredibly high right now. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to know where you stand on this. And listen, if you like this video, if you appreciate honest, no-nonsense tennis talk that's not afraid to call out toxicity when we see it, absolutely destroy that like button. It helps the algorithm show this video to more people, and honestly, this message needs to reach as many tennis fans as possible. Subscribe to Chatterbox if you haven't already and smash that notification bell so you never miss when we drop new content. We've got huge updates coming on the ADP side with some wild drama brewing, more WTA storylines that are absolutely insane, and we're going to keep bringing you the real talk that other channels are too scared to touch. Until next time, keep your serves in the court, keep your forehands controlled, and most importantly, keep your comments kind. This is Chatterbox, signing off. Peace.